maybe even the first time in almost 18 years that I came out of a rock and roll video. So this is all reminiscent. And joining us, our first guest on the Fork in the Road, we have Stephen Pearcy of RATT, who I didn't get to see live last Friday.
And
at
that sucks.
club.
And that sucks because, like I said, my dentist couldn't get in.
And I know it was like
Justin's his brother. You know, Justin's his brother. You know that, right?
The doorman.
Yeah.
I want to talk about RATT for a little bit because RATT were in the '80s one of the biggest rock metal bands. You were, I thought, the first band to have a #1 hit, right? Because Round and Round hit #1, correct?
Motley was always, I don't know, it might have been top 5 or something, but the record was, I believe it went to 6 or something, but it was like, you know, Motley was right there ahead of us. Always. They were always one step ahead because their record came out a little bit a year before ours, you know. And it was always like, well, Ozzy took out Motley. When Motley left to do their thing, we'll grab RATT, and then we did our thing, and then who else? You know, I mean, it was this constant step, you know. That's why we never played shows with Motley back in the day. I think we only did like 3 shows, you know, in the heydays, per se, you know.
They talk about, especially us being from the Sunset Strip, in different waves, and they talk about the different waves, and that wave that you were on was the wave with RATT, Motley Crue, Quiet Riot, and
well,
but everybody at that time, this is what I remember.
Yeah.
Everybody at that time was playing huge arenas.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there were so many. I mean, it would be, you know, it would be like I mentioned in the book. It's like, you know, you say you're going to Texas to do some shows. Well, 2 weeks later, you're going, where are we? Well, you're in Texas. We're still here. Florida. Well, where are you? Florida. We're still here. 2.5 weeks later, I mean, there were so many places to play, you know, these arenas and stuff. Now they're gone, you know.
But
no Snortatorium, you know.
But how much was it not being able to remember because so many shows, or just because you guys were just so fucked up back then that you don't remember exactly where you were?
Both.
It was both back then.
Both. You played a lot of shows, and literally I had to go back and get a hold of some concierge and security guys and went, hey, let me in on some shit that went down, because I don't remember a few years, literally. You know, I mean, we were just on 10. You know, we weren't the only ones.
No.
For sure.
It was a decadent time back then.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And when people talk about, oh, you know, I wonder what it was like in the late 80s or the early 90s or early 80s even.
Yeah.
And that time will never, ever be duplicated. And it's amazing that, hey, I think for how old we are, I think we look pretty damn good. And that we're even alive.
Yeah. Well, we've lost one due to that excess, you know.
True.
And almost everybody did, actually, you know, or got close.
Those were the wake-up calls.
Yeah, and it happened the beginning of the 90s, about 90, 91. The big slap came, you know. But, you know, I call them BC listers, you know, all these bands that are compared to what we did. I don't claim to be a front runner of anything. We just did what we did, and we were in our own little pack. And, you know, but when all these other bands came around, these cookie cutters, it did kind of, you know, mess up the integrity of, hey, this is a cool era, you know, because there were so many. I mean, you couldn't tell who's who with these new bands, you know. The same people made your clothes, and the same producers, and the same, you know, on and on. It's like, okay, we got the formula. No, you don't.
Right.
You can't create that formula of the Motleys and the Ratts and the, you know, Quiet Rides, per se.
I told this story on my show earlier. I think I did, that I took Izzy from Guns N' Roses to go see you guys, and you were playing at the Long Beach Arena, and I was like, hey, you got to watch this opening band, because I think this singer is going to be bigger than George Michael's. And do you remember who the opening band was?
For us?
Yeah. It was Bon Jovi.
Oh, okay.
I went to that show, and Bon Jovi was opening up for RATT.
Yeah, well, we knew they were going to be big. There's one thing we did do smart. We picked great opening acts. Doesn't matter who it was. It's like, you know, it's like I used to run around with a big VHS camera when I was off the road, and I'd go see bands, you know, and, you know, one of the bands I used to see, and I'd tell Robin, hey, there's this band called Poison, you know, and, you know, I think they might have some legs here, you know, and to this day I have this video, and I've tried to tell those guys in the band, literally, I have this videotape of me and my security guy Phil going to Brett's apartment, and Riki was there, his sister, and all these people, and we're like doing quarter shots, blow, pot, you name it. We're in there just getting way tuned up, and I'd like these new bands, I kept my eye open, and I was filming the whole thing. I just set the camera down, we're partying and stuff, and Brett's up there all, oh, I'd love to open, just let our band open up a show, just let us open up a show, let us open. I'm like, yeah, okay. All I want from you is a platinum record if you ever make it or whatever, and we did take them on the road. They opened for Cheap Trick. They kind of broke. Cheap Trick, we're going to open up for them, and they went, no. We can go do our own thing. And God bless Cheap Trick. They're amazing. And look what happened. They broke. Did I ever get my platinum or gold record? No.
See that?
No.
You know what? And first of all, we have only one phone line. I don't really know how it works, but if anybody wants to call up and talk to Stephen Pearcy, the phone number is 888-806-8826. It's, oh wait, I don't have to say it. It's right on the corner of the screen, isn't it?
There you go. Let's talk about your book, man. This is pretty cool. This came out this year.
Yeah, it came out May 7th, and I'm still doing a lot of press for it. But it would take probably 10 books to cover 10 years of my time in my band. So I did what I could and gave a little reality check. It's a little personal. There's a lot of good stuff.
I saw you're from
stories, and
you're from San Diego. You guys started in San Diego originally?
My band, Riki Rachtman, started in San Diego, and I was like, an LA guy, so I would always be going to Los Angeles to check out the bands, and one of them being Van Halen before they broke. And I happened to become friends with them and traded gear with Ed, and how I got to meet them was a great story in the book. But I just decided in 1980, January 1, I'm moving to LA, and I'm bringing my band, Riki Rachtman, because that's where you have to be, because there was this band called Van Halen, and they're huge, and they're going to be monstrous. And sure enough, and we moved.
So who was in that lineup then? Were any of the guys from RATT in the band then?
No, Riki Rachtman, no. Actually, Jakey Lee was in an early version. Matt Thorne, bass player, Rough Cut. Chris Hager, Riki Rachtman, Rough Cut also. But I just had a revolving door. I was the only guy who just said, I'm going to do this somehow, some way. It doesn't matter who's in the band, and I did it.
Let me talk a little bit about this revolving door.
Yeah.
Because, Stephen, you've been my friend for a long time. So whenever I'd see in the paper, RATT's playing, and then I have no idea what band it is. You think if you're going to see RATT, you're going to see RATT, and then it ends up being RATT that's 5 guys from LA Guns, or I don't know what it is.
No, we didn't get that bad.
But no, like how many, was there a version of RATT without you?
There was actually, when I left the band, I left my band twice. Once in 91, I actually took us off the road. We were like ready to just all die. It was like tour, record, tour, record. And eventually it beat us up, and I was like, I'm not going down. I'm out. And then the second time I left was...
How long were you out the first time? How long did you take it off?
7 years.
Oh, wow.
And then when I came back, it just wasn't right. And Robin was no longer in the picture. He had not passed away yet, but he wasn't in the picture. And I left again. And then that's when the lawsuits started happening. And then it's so crazy because Warren and I talk about it to this day. It was just like... all I said was, I don't want to do this one tour, a Japan tour. And they went, well, if you're not doing it, somebody else will. And I went, go ahead.
So now when you're saying this, you're saying somebody else will, but somebody did.
Oh, it was 93. No, it was actually 91, yeah, because I started Arcade with Fred Corey in 92. Yeah, that was the first time, but yeah, during that period right there.
But RATT still played without you.
They still played, yeah. They went,
and who was it? Was it Jizzy that was singing?
Yeah.
Who also ended up singing for what other bands?
Oh, I don't know.
LA Guns, I think.
Probably 20
But there was
bands.
there were all these weird things, and then there was a Stephen Pearcy's version of RATT that didn't.
Well, I didn't go out as RATT. I just used the moniker, and that's when they kind of got a little tivvied, but. I mean, look, I started the band, obviously didn't fly when the corporate shit came down legally. You know, I mean, it was 2 against 1 as far as legalities, and it was like, oh no, he didn't go to a minutes meeting, so all of a sudden I was out.